Question 44 in a Black History Reader by Dr. Claude Anderson. What will be President Barack Obama's greatest and most memorable legacy? In a speech to Congressional Black Caucus on September 18, 2016, President Barack Obama told the assembled Black audience, quote, "I will consider it a personal insult and an insult to my legacy if the Black community does not support Hillary Clinton's candidacy so that she can continue my legacy," end quote. Donald Trump, however, was elected as President of the United States of America. In a shocking reversal of voting patterns, Black voters gave Donald Trump 3 times the number of votes they gave the Republican Party in the past 65 years of presidential elections. Black voters who switched their political loyalties from Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party to Donald Trump sent up a distress signal. These Black voters did not want continuation of President Barack Obama's legacy, nor the traditional way Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party have viewed and treated Black Americans. Blacks wanted a change in their socioeconomic conditions that Obama did not address during his 2 terms. Now, does any of that sound familiar with what's happening right now in recent history? It's a nice, subtle little lateral step here from Obama to his vice president, now President Joe Biden, right? Back to Dr. Claude Anderson. Black voters gave Barack Obama nearly 100% of their vote in both of his national elections. But the quality of life gap between blacks and whites widened while Obama served as president. Cortland Malloy, a columnist for the Washington Post, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, who, let's just say on record, he's not necessarily a friend of Black people, in an article on August 2nd, 2011, lamented Black sadness. Malloy said, quote, "Black America is crying the blues like no time since the Great Depression. Black households on average have lost more than half their worth in just a few short years, and the wealth gap between blacks and whites is at a historic high," end quote. What Malloy neglected to say was that racial disparities widened across the socioeconomic spectrum under President Barack Obama's administration. While Obama wants us to keep his legacy alive, let's listen in on what Dr. Claude Anderson lists as some of the things that were a part of Barack Obama's legacy for Black America. White unemployment dropped, while Black structural unemployment rate remained at nearly 50%. The poverty rate for Blacks increased to nearly 37%, and their median family incomes declined. Black imprisonment remained above 51%. Black student achievement levels and college enrollment dropped, and the FBI continued reporting that approximately 67% of the nation's hate crimes are committed against Black Americans. And that number actually went up during the Trump presidency when America tried to bamboozle us into thinking that it was Asian Americans that were receiving the majority of the hate crime, specifically from us, the group of people who are the victims of the most hate crimes out of anybody else. Doesn't really add up, does it? Continuing on. With social integration and the Black civil rights movement having failed to significantly eradicate racial disparities, a host on the American Urban Radio Network asked President Obama, what, as the most powerful man on earth, were his plans for relieving the suffering and desperate conditions within Black America? President Obama quickly responded, quote, "I can't pass laws that say I'm going to help Black folks. I am the president of the entire U.S. What I can do is make sure that I am passing laws that help all people, particularly those who are most in need," end quote. Almost sounds like Kamala Harris, doesn't it? These are glorious but misleading statements, but show weakness and indifference towards his own people. If his intent was to help all the people, then he should have helped Black Americans. All means all. Further, Obama chose to give special assistance to Hispanics, Arabs, Jews, American Indians, and LGBTs without, quote unquote, passing laws for them. And ignoring us. In the instance of American Indians, the Harvest Institute Freedmen Federation filed a lawsuit in 2007 and asked President Obama not to pass a law, but simply to obey the 1866 Indian Treaties. A treaty, an agreement between sovereign nations, is supposed to be the highest law in the land. The 1866 treaties mandated that black Indians and those blacks formerly owned as slaves by Indians be treated exactly as non-black Native Indians are treated. For 8 years, President Obama and his administration ignored the 1866 treaties and the benefits those treaties mandated for black Indians and black freedmen, but he used the same laws to settle more than 100 pending legal suits filed by non-black Native Indians. President Obama made the front page of major newspapers in 2016 as the tribe celebrated their victory and thanked Obama for remembering the promises he made to them and kept. To black Americans, he had made no promises, therefore, there were no promises to be kept. Throughout 2 years of campaigning and 8 years of being the most powerful man on earth, President Obama rode the racial fence and used flowery rhetoric in the hopes of magically achieving the impossible. He tried to take race out of race matters and racial inequities. Instead of providing wheelchairs to blacks, historically crippled by mainstream society, President Obama chose to provide wheelchairs to other more socially preferred and less afflicted groups. He left blacks to hobble on their own. President Obama continued the benign neglect public policies and practices that President Richard Nixon instituted on black people in 1970. In benign neglect, the government excludes blacks from public policies by name, but gives the public illusion that they are included within the broad categories of minorities, people of color, and diversity. Over the course of the past 50 years, these public policies have transmuted into hateful indifference towards black people. Dr. Claude Anderson has been telling us about this trick language of minorities and people of color and all this diversity shit and intersectionality. He's been warning us about this for decades and decades. And they have, Dr. Claude Anderson he's a prophet because he tells us what's going to happen. He tells us what the plan is, and they just go right along with it and follow the plan. Continuing on. President Barack Obama's turning a blind eye toward black Americans will be a model for all future presidents. In the closing months of his presidency, an increasing number of blacks as well as whites were asking why President Obama had so judiciously avoided identifying with and aiding blacks. Some speculated that it was because Obama was the first African American, not black American president. Remember, guys, Obama does not have any loyalty or unity with us because he doesn't identify with us, because he sees himself as something other than us. He's not a foundational black American. You understand? His ancestry isn't native here. His father is, I believe, Nigerian, and his mother is a European. So he doesn't identify with us at all. He doesn't think he's one of us. And in all honesty, he isn't. And he acted accordingly. Continuing. Raised outside of the continental U.S. and not having the experience of black enslavement or Jim Crow semi-slavery in his family could be a partial answer. Others speculate that since he attended Harvard Law School and taught constitutional law, he knew the risks of associating with blackness, yet chose to ignore the principle of electoral politics, quid pro quo, something for something. You vote for me, I owe you. Many black voters are feeling betrayed, remembering that Obama placed his hand on the Holy Bible and promised to, quote unquote, represent, protect, and serve all the people. Yet he ignored identification with loyal black voters. He chose instead to identify with the direct resources, not to blacks, but to lower risk groups, such as ethnic immigrants, religious groups, LGBT, blah, 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 elemental P, and gender minorities. That wasn't in the book, by the way. I ad-libbed the elemental P part. In reality, there were no incentives for Barack Obama to identify with and represent Black Americans, since he did not campaign in Black neighborhoods and promised them nothing for their votes and loyalties. President Barack Obama was a colorblind president who was a master of using soaring rhetoric to support symbolic activities that were emotionally gratifying to Black Americans, but not substantially or tangibly satisfying. Therefore, Black Americans must bear some of the blame for the behavioral indifference that President Barack Obama exhibited towards his own people. For too long, Black Americans have been satisfied with receiving nothing or just emotional satisfaction when a Black person is elevated into a high-level position because of their support. Blacks must exercise greater critical thinking and evaluate Black public officials based upon what the officials do or do not do in measurable terms for Black supporters. Yes, Black people, stop making the emotional Democratic vote. Oh, I like him. Oh, I like her. He said this. He listened to this song. He did this dance. He wore these shoes. She wore some Timberlands. That's the most idiotic shit I've ever heard in my life. You don't vote for people because you think they're cool. You vote for them because they're going to give you what you tell them to give you. And I say tell as opposed to ask, because if I'm voting for you and getting your ass in office, you're going to do what I tell you to do if you want my vote. We're not asking any more questions. We're telling you what to do from this point forward. At least we fucking better. President Obama will have two landmark legacies. First, as a president, Barack Obama showed that Black candidates are qualified to hold the highest office in the nation and can be relied upon to do exactly what any white person holding the office would do in regards to racial matters. Second, Barack Obama will go into the history books as a model for all future white presidents who, in race matters, can say to Black Americans, quote, if a Black man who was in the White House for 8 years did absolutely nothing to help his people, why then should a white president feel obligated to do anything? If a Black man is colorblind to Blackness, why shouldn't whites also be colorblind to Blackness? End quote. Such a legacy will be difficult to explain to future generations of Black voters who grew up hearing about the power of the vote and the importance of getting Blacks elected to high levels of government. That is the end of that particular section of the book. It is question 44, and Dr. Claude Anderson's a Black History reader. Please buy Dr. Claude Anderson's library pack. He has a lot of knowledge, useful information in these books that Black people today, yesterday, and tomorrow will be able to benefit from. The knowledge contained in these books is very useful and priceless for our people, and it's not that expensive. Please support Dr. Claude Anderson's books. Thank you.
This is family business, and that comes first before anything else. Anything! And that means getting laid, love your mother, God, and country. You got that?